All right, we're going to work on just a couple problems from the homework. Hopefully you've been doing okay with it, and we'll just go through some and see if we have any problems. So here we go. On 34A, numbers 12 through 15, here's the problem. 6x squared plus 4y squared equals 12. If x equals 0, what is y going to be? So we first have to plug in 0 for x. This is 0 squared is 0, but anything times 0, 6 times 0 is going to be 0. So we're left with 4y squared equals 12. We divide by 4, and we get y squared equals 12 over 4 is 3. When we take the square root, we can have y equals a positive 3 or y equals a negative 3. So we have to take both of these points into account. So the points are x is 0, y is 3, or x is 0 and y is negative 3. Now, if we plug in 0 for y, we would have 6x squared plus 4 times 0 squared equals 12. This 4 times 0 squared would just be 0, so we have 6x squared equals 12. Divide both sides by 6. X squared equals 2. Take the square root, and we have x equals a positive 2 or x equals a negative 2. So now we have positive 2, y is 0. We have negative 2, and y is 0. So we plot all of these points over here. 0 in the x, positive 3 in the y, 0 in the x, negative 3y, 2, 0, and negative 2, 0. And so now we're just connecting these dots. And if we look, because in this direction we're only going 2 and 2, in this direction we're going 3 and 3, it is not a circle, it is an ellipse. All right. Well, we did this backwards, but we'll go up instead. Okay, so let's do that one at the bottom, number 16 on 34A. So it is x plus 3 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 4. Now, the first way I'm going to do it is the way that the front of your homework was showing you. So they would say something like, if x is this number, what will y be? Well, we're going to pick the numbers like the front of the worksheet makes it work out really easily. So we're going to look in this parentheses. I want to pick the x that's going to make this whole parentheses 0. So x has to be negative 3 so that when I add this 3, this becomes 0. So I'm going to put negative 3 for x. And then I'm going to say, what is my y? So if I put in negative 3, I have negative 3 plus positive 3 squared plus y minus 1 squared equals 4. So positive 3, negative 3, this becomes 0. 0 squared, still 0. So I'm left with just 1 minus y squared equals 4. This is squared, so I want to take the square root of this and the square root of this side. Now I have y minus 1 equals, the square root of 4 is 2, but it can also be negative 2. So I'm going to jump down and just make another one, negative 2. All right, if I add 1 to both sides, I get y is equal to 3. If I add 1 to both sides here, I get y is equal to negative 1. So my point started with a negative 3 for x, and I had either y equals 3 or y equals negative 1. So I have 2 points that I can plot on my graph. So if x is negative 3, y could be positive 3, or x is negative 3, y could be negative 1. Okay, let's see, I'm running out of space, so I'm going to erase real quick. Not because this wasn't right, but just because I ran out of space. So I know it takes a long time to erase. I should do something differently, like this. Okay, so now the other side of the equation, or to find out 2 more points, I'm going to do whatever makes this part 0. So if I put 1 in for y, I have 1 minus 1, and that would be 0. So I want y is positive 1. So I plug that in. I have x plus 3 squared, and then positive 1 minus 1 squared equals 4. 1 minus 1 is 0. 0 squared is still 0. So I'm left with x plus 3 squared equals 4. Take the square root of both sides. I have x plus 3 equals, remember, it's both a positive 2 and a negative 2. So now I'm going to subtract 3 on both sides to get x is equal to negative 1. If I subtract 3 here, x is equal to negative 5. So I have this one and this one with y equals 1. So x is negative 1, y is 1, or x is negative 5 and y is 1. So now I'm going to plot those points on my graph. X is negative 1, y is positive 1, x is negative 5, y is positive 1. So I can see that graph right here. Now let's take it one step further, because on a couple more worksheets it says, what is the center of this? Well, you have to look, if you plotted this correctly and picked the right points, then these are the furthest part, these are the furthest part. And so right in the middle, this is a 4 spaces of 4 between here. So right in the middle is right here. And these are spaces of 4. So right in the middle is right here. So my center is going to be at negative 3, positive 1. And then what is my radius? Well, from the center, I have to go over 2 or up 2 or over 2. So my radius has to be 2. So that's how you would do that if you want to plug in points like it walked you through. I'm going to do one more and just show you something that I taught in the lesson notes. If we remember, our equation for a circle is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So now I'm going to kind of connect the dots here. So right here I have my x, right here I have my y, and then my 4 is my r squared. So the first part is easy. If I do that, r squared equals 4. So what is r? R has to be 2. Now I keep harping on the fact that when we take the square root, it's both positive and the negative. That's fine. You could say r is also negative 2. But we know that a radius has to be a positive number, so we're going to just use the positive when we say what r is. Any other time you're taking square roots, if you're graphing points, we can have positive or negative points, so we do want to take both of them. But for the radius, we really just want a positive radius, so r is 2. Okay, so now we're going to look, I'll do the y one first. We have the minus here, y minus k, y minus 1, so k and 1 have to connect. So I can say that my k is 1. Now, the tricky one here is my h. It's x minus h, but I have x plus 3. So if I rewrite this as x minus a negative 3, then I can have x, I can have my minus, and my h is going to be negative 3. So my h is negative 3. When I use this equation of a circle, my center is hk. So I can say that my center of this exact equation right here is negative 3, 1. And so I could even plot it this way. If my r is 2 and my center is negative 3, 1, I can go over here and plot negative 3, positive 1. I can go up 2, out 2, down 2, and over 2, and I would get the same circle. But then if they ask me, well, what's the center? I already have it marked. And they ask me what the radius is, I have it marked. So essentially there's two ways to do all of these problems. And so I just want you to be aware, whichever way is easier for you. You can either pick the points that will make this parentheses 0 or this parentheses 0 and plot them, or you can compare it to the standard equation of a circle and find the center at HK and the radius value. All right, I think that's probably enough. If you have any more questions, feel free to email me, or good luck on your homework.